Welcome back to the Meet the Athlete podcast. In today's episode, I'm joined by Ben Felton, aka Ben is Running. Ben has been instrumental in my kind of YouTube running journey, if you like, always mentoring me and giving me help. So it's great to sit down and talk about his running, Valencia Marathon, his training. We also have a little bit of fun talking about his dream food, like kind of starter, main course, etc. And then we finish off with some trivia questions as well. So it's great to sit down with you, Ben. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you guys enjoy. So, Ben, welcome to the pod. How are we feeling?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for having me back on.
No problem. It's been a while, over a year. Would you believe it?
Has it really?
Yeah. Well, I kind of went on a bit of a hiatus with the Meet the Athlete stuff,
Yeah,
but brought it back in podcast form. So yeah, business is booming, as we say.
brilliant.
So
Am I the first person to be on twice?
yes, you are. You
Wow,
100% are.
that
Well,
is a that is an honor.
yeah. Well, if this is going to sound really horrible, but when you came on a year ago, I thought you were big time then, and your channel's grown like threefold. So now you're definitely big time now.
Oh, that sounds like a
Um,
compliment to me.
it is a compliment. It
Yeah.
is. So anyway, we're here to talk about running, not here to boost your ego. Well, we kind of are actually. I guess we kind of are. Um, but yeah, how has the last 12 months been for you?
Yeah, pretty good. 12
Yeah,
months. Wow, big
yeah,
picture.
yeah,
Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, to be honest.
yeah.
Um, Back in November last year, I quit my job as a chef and went full time on YouTube. I know that because I was doing my tax return yesterday, which was fun. So I
Okay.
had to go through all of my bank stuff and get that sorted, ready for the new year. But yeah, quit my job last year, and I've been on YouTube and running and racing as much as possible. And yeah, it's been crazy. Some big trips, some PBs, some great races, some not so great races. So
Lots of
yeah, it's been
PBs.
good. Lots of PBs.
Yeah, you taken almost a minute off your 5K, over 2 minutes off your 10K. That's pretty crazy.
Wow,
So
done your research.
I've done a little bit of research, not too much. But obviously you just finished Valencia Marathon, the weekend just
Yeah.
gone. How are we feeling now? Recovered or still kind of a bit tired?
Still quite sore, to be honest with you. I went for a run yesterday, so 3 days after the marathon. And at first I felt great. I was like, woo, I feel amazing. Like I've had 3 days off running.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of the run, my quads were still like barking at me, like a solid 7 out of 10 on the pain scale, I'd say. So I'm gonna take it easy for the next few days slash weeks and let the body properly recover this time.
Yeah, that's good. Do you normally have, well, obviously this is only your second marathon, but is there like
Yeah.
a recovery plan you're going to stick to? Like, I know that people say that I think it's like a week for every year of your life. It takes you to fully recover from
Right.
a
Okay.
marathon. But
Interesting.
maybe that seems a bit extreme. I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
think from my own experience, which was the last one, I just jumped straight back into training straight away. Maybe like a couple of days off, and then I just sort of easy ran until my legs felt good again. But that took me about, I'd say, a solid 3 weeks for me to get back to feeling the same sort of feeling in, say, my threshold work. My paces were always a little bit slower, and I just wasn't quite feeling recovered, and I felt like I didn't allow myself to recover properly. So this time I'm just going to play it a little bit more by ear, run basically when I want to over the next 2 or 3 weeks. No strict plan of no running, but no structure either. Just see how that goes. And I've got a cross country race, not this weekend, the weekend after. So that will probably be my next sort of effort. Until then, I'm just going to take it easy and let the body repair.
which race is that? Is that Essex Champs or
Yeah, it's just an Essex League actually.
okay?
Essex, the fourth match of five. So yeah, it'd be
Nice.
good to get back on the mud after the marathon.
Yeah.
That's the plan for the rest of the season is do some cross country. So yeah, make sure I recover over the next few weeks and then hit some cross country races, I think.
Yeah, that's good. It sounds like you've got a really healthy relationship with running. I know that some people are like mentally like, I have to run. I have to run. If I don't run, then it's like all my training's in the bin. But it sounds like you've got a really like good relationship
Yeah.
with training and structure. But so yeah, we'll talk about your training for Valencia a little bit. Anyone wants proper details, obviously head over to your series on YouTube, your Road to Valencia. I definitely enjoyed watching that.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Um, so are you happy with how the training went?
Yeah, pretty much. Training went perfectly. A
Yeah.
lot better than marathon number one. So yeah, that was my second marathon. And I had a proper structured training plan this time. I did marathon workouts every week, solid long runs, So yeah, in my eyes, apart from a niggle in week 3, the training block was a 10-week training block, and it went pretty much perfectly. Um, Probably about 3 weeks out from the marathon, I got a bit of a cold, which lasted a lot longer than I anticipated. Really, I usually get head colds sometimes during training, and they last maybe 2 or 3 days, but this sort of lasted maybe 2 weeks. And now looking back at it, I think it possibly could have been COVID. I had quite a few symptoms.
Okay.
Um, but my I noticed a lot of my heart rate data was quite a lot higher than it usually would have been. So even on my easy runs, they typically would be around 100, 138 to 140 beats per minute, and they were up into the 150s on some days. So I definitely feel like the training block went really well, but the illness towards the end of it may have hampered the overall sort of training effect towards the end there, which is a bit of a shame. But going into race day, I felt fine. I sort of recovered maybe 3 or 4 days before the race, so I thought, oh, I'm ready to rock. But then when it came to actually racing, I could tell that I wasn't quite right after about sort of 5 or 6 kilometers.
Okay. It obviously you said you everything was perfect aside from the illness. Obviously, that's not ideal.
Yeah.
Some things are just the uncontrollables, you know. Is there
Mm.
anything else you change? Anything, any workouts you'd add? Anything you'd take away that you felt was overkill, maybe?
Um, I definitely learned from adding in marathon pace work. I definitely found that really helpful when it comes to actually thinking about running a marathon at a certain pace. I did a lot of training in my first marathon, and I didn't really think about the pace that I was going to be running at. So that was really helpful this time. So I'd probably put more focus on that next time. But yeah, I think it went well, but obviously it didn't quite get the result on race day, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, because you were aiming for the infamous 220, similar to Matt Fox and Nick Bester, kind of joined the
Yeah,
220 gang.
yeah, I was
And
going for it.
obviously, yeah, going through halfway, you were still on course, right?
Yeah, through
So,
halfway, I went through in 70, 50, something like that. So I was just, to be honest with you, when I went through the halfway, I knew it was not going to happen. I cramped up at about 18 kilometers, a bit of a side stitch and some stomach issues. I could just tell the gels weren't quite sitting right in my stomach that day. And I think that's mainly because, well, for a couple of reasons, really. One, because I went out too hard, and I know that now. And two, just my heart rate was lot more elevated than it usually would be for that sort of effort.
yeah.
And I don't know if that was maybe linked to the illness as well, but yeah, didn't quite go right in the first half of the race, despite going through on sort of roughly on schedule. I knew from about 18 kilometers that I was going to have to slow down considerably to get the stomach sorted. And even when I slowed down, it wouldn't sort itself out,
Mm.
which was a shame. Basically had to jog a fair, well, I say jog. I easy ran probably a good half of the marathon. But yeah, that's just one of those things.
Mm.
Learned a lot from it, and we'll take that into the next build.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned that you think it went off too quick. Was that in just the first K, the first 10K, or is it kind of the first 18K?
Yeah. So the first 18 kilometers, was about maybe 2 seconds per kilometer faster than I anticipated. So not too bad. I thought I was at the time. I thought that was okay. It was mainly the first maybe 3 kilometers of the race. It was quite a chaotic start, and I'd been speaking to a few people on the start line. We were sort of in the like sub elite category, so there was a lot of people that were basically aiming for that 220 goal. So I already had some markers in the field, like, oh, that guy wants to run 220, so I'll try and stick with him, pack with him. So that was already in mind. So when the gun went off pretty quickly, I think I just got a bit carried away. One of the guys that had said that he was going to run 220 as well, he went even faster and further up the road than me. So I think the first kilometer was 3:18, so I was aiming for 3:20s, so that was not too bad. And then the second kilometer was a 3:10,
Okay.
so much quicker than the first. And it doesn't sound too crazy looking back at it, but I know that 3:10 included quite a few around people to make sure I found myself in a good group. So I probably exerted a fair bit of energy there. It was probably more like a 3-minute kilometer, to be honest with you, in terms of effort, getting around people. I settled down into around 318 per kilometer. Um, I think the damage had already been done with those early sort of pace changes. And I think that's one of the main. I think I just sort of tipped over into the red, and that caused the stomach cramping and side stitching.
Mm. Yeah, no, this is something I'd definitely be interested to hear your opinion on. Whenever I've done kind of like your big London road races or anything like that, and this,
Mm.
I guess you kind of experience this, is you get a lot of people who maybe, and I'm gonna have to be really careful what I say here, but shouldn't be near the front,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
are at the front, and they actually
yeah,
become hurdles to the faster people that are behind them because they've not thought about where they should have been starting. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so running a 310 on an empty course, like kilometer, is completely
Hmm.
different to running a 310 having to run and weave around people.
Yeah, and I think because it is so chaotic, especially on these sort of mass participation races, it's quite easy to get carried away. Like if you start going around some people, you're like, oh, I need to get through, let me through, and I don't know, you almost get a little bit stressed out by the amount of
Mm,
people that are running in your sort of bubble that you normally wouldn't be used to, especially in training. Obviously, I do a lot of my training on my own, so to suddenly be joined by like 30,000 people on the road is probably like something I just got to learn in future and take some experience from this race to know the first few kilometers and are going to be pretty chaotic, but just to stay a bit calmer than I did. I think I got a little bit carried away and maybe stressed out by the occasion.
mm. But as you said, it's these things you learn. Obviously, I've never done a marathon, but
Yeah,
I guarantee I'll get at least a few of them wrong before they go
yeah,
right.
yeah,
But yeah, no, it sounds like you've learned a lot from it, and I'm really excited to see your next one. Have you got anything in the pipeline, or are you still kind of weighing it
yes.
up, seeing what you want to do?
I'll be doing another marathon at the end of February,
Okay,
so not too long. An opportunity's come up. I can't reveal
no,
um,
that's fine.
where it is yet. It's not in Europe. That's all I can say. So
It's
it's
not
going
in
to be a.
Europe. Oh,
It's not
okay.
in Europe. Yeah, so it's going to be a pretty big, exciting trip, and that's towards the end of February. So I'm going to take a few weeks to recover, as I was saying, and then yeah, start training again.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I've got an idea, but I'm not gonna pressure you into.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. I'll do some research on my
I'll
on
tell
my
you
own.
offline.
Okay. Okay. I'll make sure I press the stop record button.
Yeah,
So so you mentioned you had some struggles with gels. And that I'm assuming this is quite an uncommon thing for you to have problems digestively
yeah,
with the gels. But what was your fueling strategy throughout the marathon?
yeah. So I've never actually experienced sort of the stomach issues that I had during the marathon in my training, which was unusual because throughout this training block, I made sure that I was using the same fueling that I was going to be using on race day, so that something like this didn't happen, and then it did. So I'm still sort of convinced that it wasn't necessarily the fueling that led to the issues I had. I think it was mainly due to me going out like a nutter. But I used Morton gels to fuel the marathon. Um, and again, something I've learned for the next one is I probably started taking these gels a little bit too early into the race. So in my head, I was going to take a gel every 6 kilometers. So at 6K, at 12K, at 18 kilometers, and so on. So by the time I had the stomach cramps at 18 kilometers, I'd already taken on 4 gels. I took one half an hour before the race, which I'd always been doing before races. And then yeah, one at 6K, one at 12K, one at 18 kilometers. And I knew when I was taking on the gel at 18 kilometers that my stomach was already starting to feel a little bit like it had enough. I had enough fuel, but it was more because I'd had that sort of structure in my head that I was going to fuel the marathon in this way that I sort of almost forced that fourth gel when I feel like had I just been a little bit more relaxed with the fueling, I may not have had so many issues. So I think looking ahead towards the next one, I'll have a fueling plan in place, but I'll play it a lot more by ear, just like sort of pacing in a race. If it feels too fast, you slow down. So if you feel like your stomach's full and you don't need any more fuel, then I'm certainly not going to force it, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
again, lessons learned.
mm. No, that makes complete sense to me. I'm really excited to try it in the future. But it sounds expensive, all these gels.
Yeah, they are. I've been trying
Yeah,
to get a brand on board for a little while to help out, but I've had no luck.
no luck. Oh,
No
well, maybe
luck.
we'll have to get our own
Yeah,
gel brand.
exactly. Yeah.
So, obviously we've been talking about your training a little bit. What I'd like to know is, you know a lot about running. I know that through conversations I have with you. But do you have an external coach that kind of gives you some passive, kind of non-bias opinions, or is it all self-coaching?
Yeah. So all throughout my sort of running from the very get-go has been basically self-coached. I've always had inputs from coaches along the way. So when I started running back in 2019, I joined a Swedish running club, and there was a coach there that would set me a few workouts a week. So I've never had a strict sort of training plan that's been set out to me by a coach, but I've done workouts that are set by coaches. And ever since moving back to the UK, have had a coach with my athletics club. So I used to run for Colchester Harriers. So I used to have a coach who would set my training, my workouts when I was in Colchester. Then I moved to Chelmsford, and I have a coach now called Chris, who also sets training, maybe two workouts a week. With my marathon training, though, I adjusted these workouts quite a lot. I was basically just doing the warm up and the cool down with my Chelmsford team, and then I was doing my own workouts. So I would say I'm self coached, but I also have inputs from coaches, from people who've got a lot more experience than me. So I'm not sort of completely in the dark, if you know what I mean.
It's just it's interesting because obviously I know you haven't been kind of trying with your running for too long,
Yeah,
but for someone that hasn't been doing it for too long, I think your knowledge is obviously is very, very high. So yeah, I was
yeah,
just interested to see whether you still sought that third
yeah.
party non-biased opinion.
I think you can learn a lot from training yourself, and I've learned what worked for me and what doesn't work for me. So I learned I sort of perform best on and lower intensity workouts. So, for example, if I was to go and do a track workout and I would absolutely hammer it, I would need about 3 days to recover from that. So I found from my training the threshold approach works a bit better for me, to not and keep that volume high across my easy run days. Um, and I think if I had a coach, I probably would have figured that out as well. But I think being self-coached has also helped me learn as a runner, as an individual, like what works for me, which I think is probably my main takeaway from being self-coached.
Mm. No, that sounds I think that's the right decision for you. I think obviously in my humble opinion, I do think you work quite
Yeah,
well being self-coached, a bit of a lone ranger if you like.
yeah, thank you.
Um, so a bit of a tangent. What I wanted to find your opinion on is I get this comment a lot like, oh, you could do this race with the camera, run with your GoPro or whatever. I just
Yeah,
wondered your opinion on running with a camera, whether you find it slows you down, actually like keeps you motivated because you've got to show some content of you later in the race. Like, yeah, just
yeah.
your opinion on the camera.
Um, I think it's a difficult one because I've always vlogged races like ever since I started running. There's never been like I never did races before filming, if you know what I mean. So it's always been a part of, okay, I've got a race coming up. I'm going to make a video, share it online. So filming the race sort of almost comes part and parcel of racing for me now. So I don't really think of it as slowing me down. I occasionally do like more low key races, where I don't take the camera with me, or obviously track races. I don't run around with the camera, because yeah, that would just be a little bit strange. But I don't find it a hindrance really. I just film maybe 30 seconds at the start, and then occasionally across the race, if there's key points in the race, I'll film like 10-20 second clips. But especially across the marathon, obviously 2.5 hours, maybe I'm filming for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So in terms of it being a hindrance, I don't think it is too much. I think it's a little bit different for say sort of 5K racing. Um, Obviously in a 5K race, you're going a lot faster, and holding a camera and filming the race is not as easy and as comfortable. So yeah, I think that answered the question. I can't quite
Yeah,
remember what you said.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that definitely answers my question. So you actually don't mind running with a camera.
No, I don't mind. I enjoy it.
Especially
It's
for
part
the
of it.
longer events.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's cool.
yeah,
That's cool. No, that's good to hear. So I've got some more. These are still running related questions, but they're a little bit more kind of fun. And just I don't know. I wanted to go down the more of a fun route because I think if people want to listen to a serious podcast, maybe they won't come to me because my running knowledge isn't impeccable. It's not like Sunday podcast or something like that.
yeah.
So I want to go a bit down more the fun route, ask some questions that maybe the normal running podcast doesn't ask. So the
Let's
first
do it.
question is you're going on holiday and you can take two pairs of shoes with you. That's what you're allowed. The girlfriend won't
Yeah.
let you take any more. Um, what two shoes are you picking and why?
Um, so I'd take the Nike Alpha Fly One, for any workouts or speed work or long runs. Um, I love that shoe. I wish I'd raced in that shoe
Oh, really?
in Valencia, to be honest with you. Yeah, I made the decision to go Vaporfly, but it just doesn't protect the legs quite as much as the Alpha Fly. And I just find that shoe works really well in terms of being efficient at fast speeds. So I would take that for any speed work or long run. And then my easy day shoe would be the Cloud Monster, On Cloud Monster.
Yeah.
Again, that shoe just works really well for me and find it comfortable. I can run anything from 5K up to a marathon at a sort of easy run pace in that shoe. So yeah, Cloud Monster and Alpha Fly One.
Okay. I had an inkling you'd say the Cloud Monster, but the Alpha one did catch me off guard a little bit.
Yeah, huh? Good,
I
good.
expected maybe like a Mac 4 or something in there, but
Yeah, no, the Mac. I haven't really used the Mac. I've got the Mac 5. I haven't really run in it that much this iteration. There's just so much other running shoes on the market that are a little bit more fun for the sort of daily miles. So yeah, I haven't used it as much this year.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so this is the question that I've put a lot of effort. Well, I guess I put a lot of effort into.
Yeah.
Not really that much, but so I've just opened a dream restaurant, and it's anywhere in the world, and
Okay.
it's always there for people when they finish their marathons. You've just run a marathon PB in anywhere you want in the world, and my dream restaurant is there. It's there
Okay.
for you. It's
Nice.
open. Okay, called it
What's it
the.
called?
I haven't thought of that yet. I haven't thought of that. I'll come up with a name at some point.
Okay.
For the moment, we'll call it the PB restaurant.
Oh, I like it.
Okay. Okay. So what I want from you, we're going to start off with we've got a starter, we've got a main
Okay.
course, we've got a dessert, we've got a side dish to go with either your starter or your main, and then a drink.
Okay.
Okay. But the first question I've got for you is still or sparkling water?
Oh, probably. I drink both, but if I'm out at a restaurant, I'd probably order sparkling water.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. You
you
like
can get normal water out of the tap, so why not treat
yeah.
yourself?
You like your water tasting like TV static. That's fair enough. I
Yeah,
rate that, like some extra
yeah, a
little
little bit of
sparkles in. Yeah.
why not?
Okay. Okay, moving on to your starter. By the way, I'm not going to reveal my answer to this. Maybe this will come in 100 episodes time when it's like a special episode or something. My answers are staying confidential.
Okay, you're just
But
going to
yeah,
judge mine.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So
Okay,
your
nice.
starter, it can be anything. It can be anywhere in the world. It can be a particular thing that you only had once as a child. It can be
Yeah.
anything you want as a starter.
So my starter would be a prawn cocktail,
Okay.
just because it reminds me of it's something we always have at Christmas time. So it's got fond memories of having it at my grandparents' house. And it's probably one of the only starters I really have. I don't really have starters when I go out.
Yeah.
So yeah, prawn cocktail would be the
Okay.
starter of choice.
So what sort of sauce are you having on that? Is that the rosemary sauce? Is that what they
Yeah,
call
that's the
it?
one. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
nice little salady bit, and then
And the
prawns and
prawns, are they the small ones or are they quite chunky ones?
small prawns.
The small little prawns.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, okay. All
probably
right.
cheap frozen ones as well.
Yeah. I'm going to be completely honest. I've never had a prawn cocktail.
Oh, there you go. I've only
So
probably had about two or three in my lifetime, to be honest with you, but
yeah,
maybe give it a go.
yeah. Well, you can eat whatever you want. You just run a marathon. You're not going to go over your calories for the day.
Yeah, true.
Okay. So main course is probably I this is not the most important one for me. I think dessert's probably the most
Yeah.
important one for me.
Well, no,
But
main would definitely be the most important for me.
okay. Pick your main course then.
Classics Sunday roast. It's got to be
Okay.
nice bit of chicken, bit of beef on there as well. Maybe
Okay.
like a Toby Carvery style, proper like dirty British Sunday roast,
Okay.
roast potatoes, um, cauliflower cheese, the lot, loads of gravy.
Okay. Sounds like you should come around my house on Christmas Day, mate.
That sounds good.
With the gravy.
Yeah,
Now, this is a topic of debate in my household. Um, the gravy, should it be thick and lumpy or thin and watery?
you don't want lumps, but you don't want thin gravy.
Okay,
So
so you
I,
want it kind of in the middle.
yeah, you want it sort of a good consistency, but you want it nice, well stirred. If you're going for
Okay,
an instant gravy, you've got to put some graft in.
okay. For the listeners at home, the Tesco's finest beef gravy granules. Oh, lovely
Tesco's, if
jubbly.
you're listening.
Yeah, sign me up. Um, okay, and then yeah, I rate the chicken. Chicken's quite a good one. Not any turkey. Not like we're coming up to Christmas. Turkey's not taking
No,
your fancy.
not really.
Oh, okay.
Bit
My
dry, isn't it?
mum does this like 72 hours marinated turkey. She'll
Wow,
wax it in this massive like plastic tub with certain spices and vegetables in it. Leaves it out the back door, so it's literally outside in the garden for like 3 days. Then brings it in on Christmas Day and cooks it, and oh, so juicy, so moist, so tasty.
that
Oh, it's
sounds
lovely.
incredible.
Yeah, I'll have to send you some in the post. Um, okay, moving on to dessert. This is my. Oh, actually, no. We're gonna leave the dessert. We're gonna go for your side dish. So you got your roast
Side
dinner.
dish
You can have any side dish next to you on the side.
on the
Um,
side.
no, it doesn't have to be
Big,
related to a roast. It could be anything.
I don't know. Struggle with that one. Probably like a beef chili cheese fries type thing, like a little
Ooh,
fries dish.
interesting.
Bit more
Okay.
carbs, but some flavor on there as well.
Hmm.
Maybe not with the roast dinner, but yeah, that would be my side dish.
Maybe it's like an appetizer to join the gap between the starter and the
Yeah,
main.
that
Maybe.
would be good. Something to
Yeah.
pick up
Okay.
throughout the meal.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. It's a weird one to have with a roast. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
But yeah, maybe
not
you wouldn't have a
together
side with the roast. Yeah. To be fair, sides
with
that
the roast.
there's
Yeah,
a lot of meals you can have a side dish with. Probably not roasting as one of them though.
yeah, a bit of
Okay.
garlic bread for the gravy. That would be a bit weird, wouldn't
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like just some broccoli on a plate. Yeah.
it?
Okay. Um, moving on to dessert. This is my favorite course of a meal,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna end the call if you say a savory dessert. I'm not gonna be happy if you say a savory dessert. But yeah. So what dessert would you go for?
I would go
Any dessert in
for
the world?
again a classic from my childhood, which would be like an apple crumble with a
Okay.
solid amount of custard. I reckon
Okay.
enough custard that it fills the bowl and you can't see what the dessert is anymore.
Okay. And with the custard, are we talking like your standard like ambrosia, Devonshire custard, or are we talking like fresh custard from like a bakery? I don't know if you get it
Straight
from a bakery.
from my childhood is straight out of the tin. None of the fancy stuff.
Okay, straight out of the tin. Okay, I
Yeah.
rate that. I rate that. Okay, it was sweet, so I'm happy with that. It's just if you said something like a cheese board, I would have hung up the call, and there would be no
No, not really about that.
no meet the athlete this week. Okay, um, this question could potentially end up being a two-parter if you don't give the answer I think you're going to give.
Yeah.
Um, but if you give the answer, then obviously I don't need to ask the second question. What would your drink of choice be?
Drink of choice. Probably go for a nice beer, I reckon.
Okay,
Um, one of my favorites is called Gamma Ray. By it's like a quite a fruity beer. Used to have it in a pub that I used to work in when I was a young boy.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, go for a pint of Gamma Ray
okay, fair enough. I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting you to say coffee, some form of
coffee.
coffee.
Yeah,
So that leads me into my second question, which is probably completely unrelated. I guess you could have the coffee with your starter if you wanted.
yeah, or
Um,
maybe with the dessert,
yeah. Oh
or
yeah, that's
at
true.
both ends. Start with the
Yeah.
coffee, finish with the coffee, like a bookend of
Okay,
my.
we can do that. We can do that. In
That's
the
if
dream
that can be,
restaurant,
yeah, that can
anything
be
is possible.
organized.
Okay. So I know you're a bit of a coffee snob. I don't think it's unfair to say that.
No, that's fine.
Um, if you could have one coffee in the world, who would make it? How would it be made? And what would it taste like?
That's a good one. So I would go to my favorite coffee shop in Norwich, which is where I went to university. It's a little coffee shop called Kofra, and they make some incredible coffee. It's got a really distinct flavor, like really really fruity, like not bitter at all. It almost tastes like a little bit like tea. more than it
Okay.
does a typical coffee. But yeah, for coffee in Norwich would be the place I'd go for my coffee, and I would probably have a flat white, good amount of espresso, a little bit of steamed milk.
That sounds pretty good. I don't know if you've seen, I have recently got into my coffee. You would
Uh-huh.
probably cringe at the sight of my coffee.
Yeah.
Or watching me make the coffee. Like, so I'm not even going to tell you because you'll hang up. But yeah, just before we move on to some trivia questions, I'd just like to caveat that section of the podcast with I did take inspiration from the Off Menu podcast. I don't know if you listened to it.
No, I haven't.
It's a podcast by Ed Gamble and James Ancaster, two of my favorite comedians. They just have like non-sport related guests. So you're talking like Lenny Henry, Russell Crowe, that sort of thing, like famous
Yeah.
people, and they just go through like their dream menu. But it's like a whole podcast dedicated to that, and it's my
Oh,
favorite
sounds
podcast.
good. Maybe I have to check
Favorite
it out.
non, yeah, definitely do. If you like your food like I do, definitely check it out. But it's my favorite non-running related podcast for sure. So okay, we're gonna move on to the trivia questions.
Let's do it.
So I've had a lot of people saying that the difficulty of these questions has been changing somewhat from guest to guest, and I'm trying my best to keep it kind of the same and keep it fair.
Okay.
Okay, whew. I hope you're ready for this. So,
Oh,
five
brace
questions.
myself.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the first question is to the nearest 100. What is your current number of subscribers on YouTube?
Uh, 37,200. 37,200.
It's 37,700.
Oh,
So you've lowballed yourself there.
nice
Unlucky.
surprise.
Yeah, that is a good surprise. See, you're actually a winner in that situation because you got the question
Exactly.
wrong, but you've got
Yeah.
more than you thought.
It'd
So,
have been
yeah,
embarrassing if I'd have said higher, wouldn't it?
yeah,
So,
44,000.
yeah. Wait, what? 100,000? No? Oh, okay.
Okay. So nothing there, I'm afraid.
Oh, damn it.
Okay. What was the first event you ever did according to the power of 10? And I'll give you a clue. It was in the under 15 category.
Yeah. Oh, it's like an English school something. Was it a cross country or I feel like it could have been like a 1,500 meters? What
Okay,
sort of,
so
I have no idea.
chronologically,
Yeah.
it was the Essex Schools Championships cross country. I don't know
Cross
how far it
country.
was, but you
Yeah.
ran for 20 minutes and 28 seconds. So probably
Yeah.
like 8K, something like
Yeah.
that.
And I
uh,
remember that race, and I think I came like fifth from last. I had an absolute shocker.
you came 56th. So yeah, probably about right.
Yeah, I think out of about 70 runners. So I didn't have a good day.
But then so you only did two events in 2012 for the
Yeah,
under 15 Essex schools, if you like.
yeah.
And the other one was a 1500. Do you know what your time was out of interest?
No, but I do know that that 1,500 put me off running for a long, long time.
But you came second.
Really? No, not bad.
Yeah,
I think it was a heat though, wasn't it?
it
I
was
think.
a heat. Yeah.
Yeah, I never ran
I'm,
in the final.
yeah, I was going to say it. The final's not showing up on the Para 10,
No.
so I guess you sacked
So
that off.
yeah, I basically absolutely went for it in this 1,500. Never had trained or ran before, and I ended up in the back of an ambulance because I went for it so much. And I was like, I hate running. I'm never going to run again. And then eventually I did. But yeah,
Wow.
it's another story for another podcast.
Crikey. And
Yeah,
poor little Ben
yeah, I know. What
in an
time did I run?
ambulance. You're at a 450.07.
That's not
That's
bad, is it?
actually not horrific. I know people
No.
that are a lot older than that and a
Yeah,
lot
at
slower than
15,
that.
I ran a 450, 457.
Did you?
I don't know. Is that what it says?
It's not showing up on here, but you can't
Okay.
always rely on the Power 10. Sometimes they do miss things out.
Yeah, they must have missed
Uh,
my sub 4 mile.
yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, mine too.
I did that when I was
Um,
16, but I don't think it was on there.
yeah, maybe send them a complaint or something. Probably want that on there to be honest, mate. Okay, third question. According to the Power 10 again. Sorry. This is it's the only thing I've kind of got to go off really.
No, it's
Is
good. Good metric.
what was the first race you ever won?
First race I won. Not including park runs.
According to Power 10, it wasn't even a park run.
It wasn't a park run. I've got no idea. I can't remember.
Oh, actually, no, it was a park run. Got it wrong. Okay,
Classic.
let me just double check my data is correct before I give the wrong.
Can you give me roughly the time, the year, and I'll see if I can guess something.
Okay, it's 2021.
2021. I think was it the Chelmsford Half Marathon?
It was the Chelmsford Half Marathon. Yeah.
Yay! And that was the day after I quit my job.
Was it?
So yeah, it was a pretty like maybe made the right decision. I didn't run anything quick, but at the time it was the quickest I'd ever run a half marathon.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I made the right decision. Maybe I can make a career out of running somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you had actually won a park run before, but
Right.
we're not including park runs.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Definitely
Technically,
not.
you don't win park runs, but
No,
I was just
it's not.
first finisher.
It's not a race. It's a run, as they
Yeah.
say.
No, every
Okay.
park run's a race. I don't care who what anyone tells you. You've got to win
Elbows.
them all. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Question number 4. Where does your marathon time of 2:28
Yeah.
rank you in the UK? And I'll give you plus minus 10. So you've got a
Oh,
boundary of 20 to
yeah.
get this right. In the UK, and I think this is very impressive.
Okay.
2022 marathons, UK.
I would say 230th.
You're not miles off. It's 160th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Not
that's
bad.
impressive. So,
160th.
so according to the Power 10, if everyone in the UK raced a marathon in
Yeah,
2022, if everyone ran their PB, you would come 160th out of
I'll
everyone
take
in the
that.
UK. That's pretty
That's
mad.
pretty cool. Yeah,
I think that's pretty. When I read that, I was like, I was expecting like in the thousands maybe, but yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Fifth and final question. So unfortunately, you didn't get that right. So you're 2 for 4 at the moment, but these have been pretty tricky questions. I'll give you that.
yeah. That's true.
Um, I think this is probably just as tricky. Okay, so I'm assuming you remember because your car broke down like 4 times. But in March, we
Oh
drove
no.
up to Loughborough for the inter-county championships in March.
Yeah, still
In
scarred from
cross
this
country.
trip.
Yeah, but where did you finish?
Oh, uh,
So I finished 91st.
I know I had a
Which,
good race. It was probably one of the best races I've had, but the field was absolutely stacked. So I think I came 27th,
35th. That's not miles off
35th.
actually.
Not
You've
miles
done
off.
you've done all right there. But they were pretty tricky questions, and if I'm honest, I'm really scraping the barrel of trivia questions now because I've asked all the questions about Kipchoge and Inga Britson and all of that. So
Yeah,
um,
no, I enjoyed that.
maybe we'll sack off the trivia questions at some point in the future. But if people like them, I'll try my best to keep them in.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that the Dream Restaurant has opened, maybe that'll be the continuing thing. But anyway, thank you very much, Ben, for coming onto the podcast. It's been great to have you on.
Thanks for having me on again.
No problem. Well, maybe we'll have you on a third time next year at some
Yeah,
point.
why not? Why not?
Okay. All right, mate. Take care.
Thanks very much, mate.